Shri Ganesha Namaha, Sri Guru Charitra, Chapter 30. The Death of a Young Brahmin Husband. When Sri Guru lived at Gangapur, his name and fame spread all over the country. The desires of all were fulfilled by the favor of Sri Guru. Gopinath, a rich Brahmin, lived in Mahur. His children did not survive. Both the Brahmin and his wife were the devotees of Sri Datta. They had a son. When he was of 5 years, his thread ceremony was celebrated. When he became 12, he got married. When he was of 16, the couple looked charming and loved each other intensely. Unfortunately, the youth fell ill. Despite medication and his wife serving him devotedly, he could not take full meals. This happened for 3 years, after which his body started emitting foul odor. Even the physicist did not like to go near him, but his wife served and nursed him with great devotion. The parents of the couple were rich. They were pained to see the suffering of their son and daughter-in-law. Japa, vrata, charity, sacrifices, feeding Brahmins and the poor, all had been done, but all futile. All days were passing in grief, relying on the Almighty God. The youth tried to console his parents and wife in several ways. The wife requested her father and mother-in-law to send them to some holy place. She said, "My husband would recoup his health there." Sri Guru Nrushinha Saraswati lives in Gangapur. His fame and name have spread all over the country. Send us to him. The parents managed for their journey to Gangapur and bade them a goodbye with heavy hearts. On the way, the youth had 3 dosh, and when they reached Gangapur, the youth died. The wife wept bitterly. The local people tried to console her, but all in vain. She exclaimed, "I brought you away from your parents and have been the cause of your death. I have committed a great sin. How can I show them my face now?" She fell on the dead body and wept. In the meantime, there arrived a bright-looking sannyasi with bhasma on his body. He was wearing rudraksh around his neck and he had locks of hair on his head. Knowing the cause of her mourning, he began advising her, saying, "Everyone gets the fruit of his or her actions in the past. You need not mourn on the death of this youth. Everyone who has born has to die one day or the other. When Ganga is flooded, logs of wood from different places come together and again go apart. Several birds come for a shelter on a tree in the night and fly away in the morning. Similar is a family life. Due to affection, we say, my father, mother, brother, sister, daughter, son, but we are just foams or bubbles in water and do not last long. So is this life on earth. Life is like a dream. Don't mourn." Sri Guru Charitra, Chapter 31. Code of Woman's Behavior. The young wife requested the sannyasi to tell her how she should behave. The sannyasi explained to her. He said, "This code is mentioned in the Kashi Khand of Skanda Purana." Agastya Muni lived in Kashi. His wife Lopamudra was a great devoted wife. Vrindagiri was a disciple of Agastya. Once Narada came to Vrinda and said, "You are praiseworthy in all aspects, but there is one thing lacking in you. You are not as high as Merugiri." Hearing this, Vrinda got enraged and began to grow and touched the sky. Due to this, the entire country in the south of Vindhya plunged into darkness. Subsequently, the Brahmins could not observe their daily rites and sacrifices. The rishis told this to Indra, who went to Brahmadev and narrated this to him. Brahmadev said, "Agastya is the Guru of Vindhyagiri. Send him southward." Saying Agastya, Vrinda will slowly come down to bow. Agastya should ask him to be in that very position and not grow high. In this way, the calamity will be removed. Indra, accompanied by Brihaspati and other gods, came to Agastya at Kashi. They worshipped Agastya and Lopamudra and praised them. At that time, Brihaspati, the Guru of gods, narrated the code of a devoted wife. He said, "Arundhati, Savitri, Anasuya, Lakshmi, Parvati, Shantarupa, Menka, Suniti, Sandhya Devi, Surya Kanta, Swaha Devi, all have been devoted wives.
so is Lopamudra a great devoted wife. Every devoted wife respects the guest and the elderly, greets her husband when he comes from outside. She worships her husband, thinking him to be Sri Shankar. She gets up, cleans the courtyard, and sprinkles it with water. After bath, she dresses and wears ornaments when her husband is at home. If the husband is happy, she is not dejected. She applies haldi, kumkum, kajal, wears the Mangal Sutra around the neck, bangles. A woman should not live deserting her mother and father-in-laws, brother-in-law, brothers and sisters. In this way, Brihaspati told Lopamudra regarding behavior of devoted wife. The same was narrated by the sannyasi to the mourning woman. Chapter 32 Behavior of a Widow. Dead husband made alive. Brihaspati told regarding the behavior of a widow. In the Vaishak month, she should give an earthen vessel in charity. In the Kartik, lamp should be given to a Brahman. She should offer umbrellas and shoes to the person going on pilgrimage. Whatever vrat she observes, its udyapan should also be duly done. Brihaspati had told Lopamudra in relation with the code of female behavior, and the same was narrated by the sannyasi to the young woman. Then he said, "You now act as you wish." Bowing to the sannyasi, the woman said, "You are like my parents, brothers and all. I have no relatives here." Sannyasi blessed her and said, "You have come from a long distance with your deceased husband to see Sri Guru. What was destined to happen has happened. Even great men like Harish Chandra Bhishma could not avoid it. Still, you better see Sri Guru, who can even win Kal." He applied bhasma to her forehead and gave her 4 Rudra beads and said, "Tie 2 in your husband's ears and 2 around your neck. Then sprinkle tirth on the body of your husband and on yourself." After Rudrabhishek to Sri Guru, the sannyasi then went away. The young woman started preparations for observing Sati. She called Brahmins and gave Prayashchitta to the body of her husband. The body of her husband was taken to the river, and she was going in front of the corpse with fire pot in her hand. The young girl of 16 appeared as bright as Goddess Lakshmi, and all wondered to see her courage. A pyre of food and cow dung cakes was prepared. The young woman was offered bayan, haldi, kumkum and mangal sutra to married women, bowed to them and said, "Please inform my parents and father and mother-in-law that we are staying in holy place and are in good health. Otherwise, out of grief, they will give up their lives." She was praying all the way in mind, "O Trimurti, your fame is widespread and you possess all the siddhis. If a complaint is made to the ruler, he gives justice. If one goes to the physician, he gives medicine for relief. I came crossing 20 villages with the hope that my husband will recover. I am coming to ask you how my husband expired on the way." She saw Sri Guru sitting below an Ashwatha tree and she bowed to him respectfully. Sri Guru blessed her and said, "You shall have Saubhagya forever." She again bowed to Sri Guru and exclaimed, "You will have 8 sons." And he exclaimed, "You will have 8 sons." The Brahmins accompanied her, told Sri Guru her husband has expired and she has come here to see you. Hearing this, Sri Guru smiled and said, "Her Saubhagya is everlasting. Bring her husband's body here immediately. Let me see when he lost his life." Some persons brought the dead body before Sri Guru. The strings were cut and the cloth covering was removed. The tirth of Rudrabhishek was sprinkled on the dead body, and Sri Guru looked at it with his sight full of nectar. Immediately the Brahman youth sat up as if aroused from sleep. He wore the dhoti and asked his wife why she did not awake him before, why he was brought here and who was the sannyasi. The wife narrated to him all that had occurred. Then both of them bowed to Sri Guru with devotion and began praying to him. All the persons who had assembled there were delighted to see the miracle. One person said to Sri Guru, "This Brahman died as per his faith. How can he be alive?" Shri Guru smiled and said, I requested Brahmadev to give 30 years of his life from the next birth to this Brahman youth. All were astonished to hear this. All bowed to Sri Guru and returned. The young Brahman couple bathed at the Sangam, worshipped Sri Guru devotedly, and pleased the Brahmins and the poor by giving alms in charity. Chapter 33 Devoted Concubine. Next day, the young Brahmin couple bowed to Sri Guru and sat before him. The wife asked Sri Guru, when I was mourning, a sannyasi advised me. He gave me four Rudra beads and asked me to tie 2 beads in the ears of my husband and put 2 beads around my neck. He also told me that when I go to see Sri Guru, I should sprinkle teeth of Rudravishek on my husband's body and mind. Who was that sannyasi? Sri Guru smiled and said, seeing your devotion, I myself gave you the Rudra beads. Since do not touch those who wear Rudraksha. The significance of Rudraksha is very great. One should wear a garland of 1,000 Rudraksha. If this is not possible, then wear one of 108 beads around the neck, 40 on the head, 12 in both the ears. One who bathes with Rudra beads on his body gets a credit of Ganga Bhat. If the Rudraksha is worshipped, it is like worshipping Sri Shiva Shankar. I shall now tell you a tale in this aspect. There lived a king, Bhadrasen, in Kashmir, and his son's name was Sudharma. The name of his minister's son was Tarak. Both were fast friends. They were of the same age. Both of them had studied together. They were devotees of Shiva. They used to wear Rudraksha and apply bhasma. They did not like rich clothes and ornaments. Once Parashar Rishi came there. The king greeted and worshipped him. The king said to Rishi, my son is fond of Rudraksha and has no liking for good clothes and ornaments befitting a royal family. Please advise him properly. Prashar said, the account of his previous birth and that of your mantri is wonderful. There lived a concubine in Nandigram. She had constructed a high-class dancing hall where she sang and danced daily. She had many attendants. She tied Rudraksha around their necks and taught them to dance. She was a great devotee of Shiva and gave alms to the Brahmins and others profusely. One day, a rich Vaishya wearing Rudraksha came to her. He had in his hand a shivling of precious stones which was as bright as the sun. The concubine longed to have that shivling. She asked her maidservant to ask the Vaishya if she would sell the shivling or if he could give it to her if she accepted to serve him. When the maidservant told this to the Vaishya, he laughed and said, I would gladly give this linga to your mistress if she agrees to serve me. The Vaishya then said to the concubine, how can I believe that you would be honest with me for 3 days? Take an oath for this. The concubine took the oath. I shall serve you devotedly for 3 days. He then gave the linga to her hand and said, I love and regard this linga even more than my life. If it is lost or destroyed, I shall give up my life. Keep it safe. She agreed and kept the linga tied to a pillar in the dancing hall. Both then entered the inner apartment. Dancing hall caught fire and was burnt in no time. Efforts to extinguish the fire were made, but the linga was burnt. Seeing that the precious linga was burnt, Vaishya arranged a pyre and burned herself. The concubine was much grieved. Her relatives tried to persuade her from giving up life, but she was firm in her resolution. She called Brahmins and gave money in charity. She arranged a pyre. She took 3 rounds around it and leapt in the fire of the pyre. Instantly, Sri Shiva, with 5 beads and locks of hair on his head, caught her in his 10 hands and took her out of the fire and said, I am pleased with your devotion. You can ask for a boon. I myself had come to you as the Vaishya to test you. I myself set the dancing hall on fire and entered the pyre and got burnt. The concubine said, kindly take me with all my relatives and servants to your place. Sri Shankar seated them all in his divine plane and took them to Kailas. Chapter 34 Rajkumar and Mantri, devotees of Sri Shiva. Rashar further said, due to the training of the previous birth, both are dhyanis and devotees of Shiva. Hearing this, the king asked, you have narrated the account of previous birth of these Kumaras, but what is their future? Rashar says, you ask about the future of your son, but you will be grieved to know the same. The king, kindly tell me truth. If it gives me grief, kindly suggest measures to get rid of it. Rashar said, your son will live for 2 years. He will die on the 8th day from today. For this you worship Umakanta, the Guru of universe with Rudraksha. The significance of this Rudra Sukta is very, very great. He will save the life of your son. The 4 Vedas came out of the 4 mouths of Brahmadev. Yajurveda contains Rudra Sukta. Brahmadev told this Rudra to Maricha, Atri, etc. These rishis taught this to their disciples. Thus it has come on this earth from generation to generation. By reciting Rudra, all the sins are wiped off. You invite 100 Brahmins and have 10,000 Rudrabhisheks on Shiva Shankar. This will enable your son to live a long life. The king invited the Brahmins as instructed, and Rudrabhishek was started ceremoniously. On the 8th day at the midday, the Rajkumar all of a sudden fell on the ground senseless. Abhishek Tirtha was sprinkled on his body. The Brahmins also threw enchanted akshata of the Rudra on him. Due to this, Yamaduta did not dare to come near the Rajkumara who awoke. His death was thus averted. The king and people were very much delighted. The king spent much in charity. In the meantime, Narad Muni came there and said, O king, while Yamadutas were taking away from your son, Shivadutas attacked them and freed your son. Yamadutas fled away to Yama and complained. Yama went to Sri Shankara and asked, why did your Dutas attack my Dutas? Sri Shankar said, when Rajkumara was granted long life, why did your Dutas go to snatch him without consulting Chitragupta? When record of Chitragupta was checked, it was seen that Kumara's life was 12 years at first. He was granted 10,000 years life later on. Seeing this, Yama repented and went away. Your son has got life by the virtue of Rudrajap. His death is averted. Such is the great power of Rudra.